at the beginning of the podcast, we're talking about focus as just everlasting. Like it's
Yeah,
just all the time there, right? Um,
we can't expect ourselves to be focused 24 hours a day. It's not.
yeah. Or can we manage a time when we're most focused during the day? Like we realize like, hey, in the mornings I'm just like more focused. Maybe I should just start doing hard activities during the morning, get those done. Once I have those done, then I don't have to worry. Welcome to the Out of the Box podcast, where Steele and I, Jose, your host, get to talk about out of the box ideas. Basically, this podcast, for those who are new to the show, is basically bringing ideas and also guests who have expertise in different areas, just to share their truth about what they know of the world within their subject area, and that way we can have an open conversation about how it can apply into our lives today. So today we're going to be talking about focus and attention and just basically how that applies in your life. I've heard it said that time is the most important resource. I heard people say um, money is the most important resource, but really I think the most important resource is where your attention and where your focus is at every day. Because if you are scattered in and you have a lot of time, even though you have a lot of time, you cannot get work done. And even though you have a lot of money, and if you're scattered and you're not focused, you could lose that money if you're not paying attention. And so I think attention and focus are kind of similar to each other, and we just kind of wanted to talk about it. But before we get started, we actually want to invite you to subscribe to our channel, because if you are looking to continue receiving amazing content about truth, about business, art, theology, philosophy, I mean, we're really trying to cover a lot of ground, just to get a lot of truths from different sides of things, so that it just makes sense and we can connect the dots and share that with you all. So I invite you to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. And without further ado, I mean, we'll get into it. So I know, Steele, we were talking before we started the podcast that, I was sharing how even in my life, even right now where I'm at right now, I'm doing a lot of things, and I enjoy doing a lot of things. Don't get me wrong, but I started to notice that my attention was in different places at different times of the day, which was causing me to lose focus of my end goal of what I want to do. And essentially, like I had mentioned to you, I want to be an artist. I want to share truth. I want to be a speaker. And so a lot of the things that sometimes come every now and then are, I would say, lies from the world, saying like, hey, you need to do this most popular and recent thing of everything great that's going on in the world, and hey, you need to do this. And so it's almost like, oh, okay, I got to do that, but then I have to do that on top of what I was already doing. And oh, now I have to learn about that, because that's important. It connects to all of these. And now I have to add that on top of my caseload. And I think that leads to burnout, and that leads to attention deficits, and a lot of these things that cause us to lose focus. And so if you don't mind sharing, like, have you experienced that? And maybe we can later talk about some things that we could do to improve that, right?
Yeah, like in terms of like trying to find a focus or.
Yeah, how can we find a focus? Should we have a focus if we're very artistic? Should we try to narrow down on just one thing, or should we keep it general? I can also share a little bit about the idea of what we were talking about with Seth Godin. For those who don't know, Seth Godin is a writer. He has a podcast and also a daily blog that he writes every day. And so he talks about the practice and how one needs to continue with their practice, whatever craft that might be. So I think he kind of goes along the lines of focusing on the practice. But Yeah. So have you ever been in a situation where you're just doing a lot of things?
Oh yeah, my whole life. Yeah, because
Yeah.
um, I've always worked on multiple projects at once ever since I was a, ever since I was young. I guess ever since elementary school. Sometimes I think it was around middle school that I worked on actually multiple film projects at the same time, and it would stress me out. And my mom would always point out how, like, you're stressing yourself out. You don't have to take on all these projects at once. But I was, in my mind, I had to achieve certain things by a certain time. And if I didn't achieve those things, I was failing. I felt like I
Mhm.
wasn't doing enough. So I constantly felt like I had to get this film project done, but it was taking a long time. So I had to start on this other film project, and it just kept going and going. And I think also just I like to stay busy, I think, because
Mhm.
as I've gotten older, that's kind of died down a little bit. But because I guess just more tired recently, just been so busy all the time. I just take more breaks. But it used to be where I was just had to be busy all the time. And so now it's more of a balance. I find balance by taking breaks in between. But yeah, I definitely experienced like doing a lot of things at once and having a lot of things I want to do at once, but not being able to do all of them, like filmmaking. I'm doing a counseling right now to get the full license, to build up to that. And I love it. It's so rewarding and just amazing. And so is filmmaking. And so the filmmaking is, pushed to the weekends and stuff. Sometimes only one day out of the weekend because I'm also doing the writing job. We kind of talked about this in another podcast.
Yeah, we have.
I'm doing multiple things at once, so it's kind of hard sometimes you can't do everything. You have to kind of pick and choose. Is what I'm kind of in. That's where I'm at right now. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know we've covered, and for those who are listening, we have a podcast that talks about the struggles of being a creative. And so you can definitely go look into that if you like. But in terms of focus, I think, the idea of focus is really just clarity, right? Focus cannot not take action until you have clarity of what you want to focus on, right? Because if you just have an open focus, I mean, if you just have an open focus of life, then, something could pass by and then you're like, oh, okay. Then you focus on something and then you focus on another. But if you just have, your focus on one thing and trying to strive for that and achieve that, I think that brings more success on the long run, because I've seen in a YouTube video, I can't remember what person was describing this, but they were talking about um, the success uh, growth of someone, and so it's like a lot of people who focus, they'll start growing, and then they continue to grow because they're just focused on that one thing. But then there's other people that start on one thing and then they stop and then they start another thing and then they stop and then so it never rises to the top,
Yeah,
right?
I
It
can tell
never
you.
reaches any
True.
any point to the top. And so I think that it is important to have focus on in the first place. And I think focus in itself, like I was saying, sounds just like it needs clarity in to know what you want to do, right?
Yes.
Um, and really, maybe even have people accountable that can just bring you back and say like, hey, no, you're starting to do things that don't align with what you want to focus with.
Right, right. That's true to a certain degree, but I think sometimes you have to hold yourself accountable or find ways to do that.
Yeah.
I can tell you from personal experience that what you just said about having focus and that leading to something that's happened in my life, I've noticed it. I focused on counseling and now it's turning into a full license. It's getting closer and closer to that. And then focus on writing, and the writing it's actually increased because I've focused on that. Filmmaking I've done since fourth grade, and it's taken me, over a decade, but I've gone into a film festival. I've I've gotten more well known on the internet for it and stuff, and I've gotten a few paid kind of small jobs of filmmaking uh, as I've gotten bigger, And so I see that focusing on one thing has actually led to progress over the years, and I can see it from when it first started to where it is now, and there is progress by just focusing. So what you're saying is right. So I think right now, in the past I've done like music, I've done like all kinds of different things. I've done painting before, right? Photography, just different things like that, writing philosophy, writing books. So right now, I think the time constraints have made me hone in that focus onto three main things, which is counseling, writing, and filmmaking. And I'm able to make it work right now. The writing being the writing job and research, the filmmaking on the weekends, and then the counseling during the week. And so, yeah, I think sometimes just bringing it back around is the main point is I think it's about focusing on the things that you can do right now. And sometimes, at least for me right now, it's picking three things. For someone else, it might be different, picking two or four things or five things. So, like, yeah, what you're saying is right. You pick.
Yeah, and maybe there's some people that just need one thing, and that's all they want to focus on.
And you
And
stick
I
to
think
it.
like for us, like it's a little bit harder just because we're so open to doing different things.
Yeah.
But really, like you said, I think it's really important. You've done a lot, you tried different things, but then you have to narrow. It's kind of like when you start college and you're that freshman and everybody's trying to get you to join into their club or do their organization. So you might join five or I don't know, 10 organizations. And then by sophomore year, you're like, okay, this is not sustainable. I think what I'm going to keep is just two or three. Um, that so it's balanced with my classes, and I'm still able to do all of this other stuff that I find interesting. Yeah, I think but that definitely comes from clarity, right? Like knowing like, okay, well, in negotiating with oneself, like, hey, what's really important, what's my main focus. And I think it's hard to lose focus sometimes, right? Like do you find that difficult, like sometimes that do you lose focus?
Yeah, and it's funny. It seems like the older I've gotten, it's gotten harder to stay focused. With my writing job, for example, writing these blogs, I find myself taking breaks halfway through the blog, and in writer's block and stuff like that. And sometimes it's hard to even have the motivation. I wonder if motivation plays a role into focus as well, because that's what I've noticed a lot of times. I lose my focus is because I'm not motivated to work on that thing right now. With the writing job, I have to force myself because Friday through Sunday, if I don't get those blogs done Friday through Sunday, then I'm not going to get them done, So like
Yeah,
I have to force myself to be in the mood to write, and that's when I lose focus. So it's like I lose focus when I don't have motivation or passion to do something, you know? What do
yeah,
you think? Like, have you had that, or what do you think about that?
yeah. I mean, I think sometimes like i have to um I have to set like boundaries and have to set things like for right now, like I've prolonged doing my taxes for the longest time just because
I need to do mine.
it's something that I know it's in the back of my mind and I have to do it, but I have to tell my accountant and say like, hey, I'm done with my collecting all my taxes, and have her tell me like when she can take me in, so that way I can just like get them done in that time frame. Because if I don't give myself a time frame, I think I just like never do it. I just wait till the last day while doing
That's the thing that happens to
what
me.
I think is
Like
the most important.
and what I do for that is I write it down, and then because I'm INFJ, right? I have to organize everything. So it's that's just how I deal with that stuff. And so that's how I have like reminders everywhere. I always write notes, like, sticky note things. Uh, I've done that ever since middle school, and it's helped me keep track of stuff like that so I don't forget. And then I prioritize, prioritizing and making lists. That's what helps.
Yeah. But I mean, I think like sometimes like just to use this as an example, like the taxes, it's there, but you're just choosing not to focus on it because it's sometimes like, oh, I got other stuff that I need to
Well,
focus
I know
on
what you
first.
I know what you mean. So what I do for that is I do the things I know I can get done the fastest first, because then that means once they're out, they're out. Like things that won't take a long time. Like, oh, like just today there was like a health insurance message I needed to check, and then there's a message about my student loans moving to a new student loan servicer and set up the account. So I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this right now. I want to relax and watch a movie. Then I was like, but then I'll have to do it tomorrow, and tomorrow I have to write blogs. So I was like, you know what, this will probably only take 5 minutes or less to do. So I'm just gonna knock it out right now, and then I won't have to worry about it, for the rest of forever, really. So I just did those two things real quick, and so I think that's what gets me is like I'm like, okay, what will take the fastest to do that I have to do, pretty soon, or because then it gives me less things I have to do later. So then I just knock it out in like a short amount of time, and then I have less to do later. Is what I tell myself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes, yeah, I think that focus also comes with the energy that you can give your body to focus,
Yeah,
right? Because I think we only have an amount of time to focus. I think sometimes too, right?
really.
Like let's say, like we can't be focused 24 or like waking hours, 18 hours or whatever that might be. I think there's a span of attention and focus that you can have. Your attention can move, but the level of focus that you can have is sometimes short. Like whenever we're reading something and it's just so draining because it takes a lot of your focus to comprehend what's going on. I think that decreases your focus. And so I think what I'm getting at is that, how do we manage our focus sometimes? Because I think we at the beginning of the podcast, we're talking about focus as just everlasting. Like it's just
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just all the time there, right? Um,
we can't expect ourselves to be focused 24 hours a day. It's not.
yeah. Or can we manage a time when we're most focused during the day? Like we realize like, hey, in the mornings I'm just like more focused. Maybe I should just start doing hard activities during the morning, get those done. Once I have those done, then I don't have to worry. Because I know a lot of CEOs do that. They're
Oh,
like, hey, I'm most effective at this time, or I'm
yeah,
most effective at this time.
yep.
And
That's
so I'll
what
just schedule all my meetings during this time because that's when I'm most focused. And so I can digest all the hard
that's
information
that's what I've
that's going.
experienced, because for my blogs that I do, I write them in the mornings. I write them from about like 7 a.m. till like I usually finish what I want to get done that day at like 1 p.m. I have like a lunch break in between, but yeah, like from probably about 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Because in the afternoons we have the natural dip in our circadian rhythm, so we feel tired usually between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. So I'm like, I want to feel tired between 1 and 3. I'm not gonna do blogs in the afternoon, and then by the time it's after 3, it's already racing to 5, and then it's already, I want to relax in the afternoon. So like I always do all my work. I try to do it in the morning. So yeah, I think what you're saying is right, and it could vary for each person. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think one of the solutions to finding time to find focus in your life is, we've talked about clarity, like knowing what you want in life and structuring that in your schedule, right? What do I want in life? Once you have clarity in your life, you can finally focus, right? And so that comes with sometimes narrowing or filtering out other activities that are not serving any use for right now, even though you might be an amazing person or could see potential in that specific area. You have to narrow down to tell the world like, hey, this is what I want to be known for. This is what, whenever you call me, this is what I want you to think of me, right? So you have a focus. People know you for that focus and for creating your craft within that area, right? And I think what we're getting at right now is identifying when we have focus during our day. So this is now the micro scale, right? So we looked at focus from the big scale of like, hey, what are the big goals, big things that I want to achieve in my life? Am I doing that every day, or am I just like scattered throughout the day?
Yeah. So
And
finding
so once you have clarity and narrow, like these are the 3 activities or 4 activities, um, probably not more than 4, I would say, then you would be scattered too much. Unless, it doesn't require too much of your time to do more than 4. Um, but narrowing down and focusing on a specific area, right? That's the big scale, focus. And then micro scale per day, what do you do to focus, right? And so it's making sure that we're doing finding times when we focus, making sure that we're eating healthy so that we're not having brain fog and stuff like that that's causing our focus to go off. It's sleeping well. I know we've had a podcast about sleeping well, so that way you're not focused on, hey, I needed more hours of sleep, or hey, I just don't have the mental power because my brain is so tired. So it's really doing the essential things of to be sustainable, basically.
yeah.
And so I think that that's taking it to the micro scale, right? Do you think we've kind of missed something, or was there something that you just thought was interesting and wanted to share about focus?
Yeah. So my final word on that would be like, I think attention, that's something that I think plays a role in focusing, right? Because when we're focusing, we're placing our attention towards something specific. And for some
Mhm.
people, it's harder to maintain that attention for a long period of time. And so one way to fix that is to try to challenge that and try to push that attention a little bit further each time. And then you're like training your brain to maintain the attention longer, you know? So yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, attention does play a role.
Oh, so what you're trying to say is that focus is trainable. So it's
Oh,
just, yeah. So attention is, I think what you're trying to say is that attention is, everyone has attention, but not everyone has focus, right?
or
And
maybe
so,
maybe different
so,
levels of it, you know?
so
Yeah,
yeah, maybe we have different levels, right? But what you're trying to say is train our attention to focus, right? To have a focus,
yeah, because
right?
focus,
Like before, I couldn't read past like 5 or 10 minutes. Now I can do 30 minutes to an hour of
especially,
reading.
yeah, you like exercise your brain.
So I've exercised it to discipline it to focus while I'm reading, right?
Yeah, attention is like the tool of focusing. Can you focus without putting your attention to a specific area, you know? So that's, I guess that's it, you know?
Yeah.
You may
I
you
just
Yeah, it ties together.
I think the attention is the raw material, right? And then focus is actually like doing something with it, right? And so it's like, hey, this is where I want to put my attention. This is the people that I want to give attention to, because I know a lot of people. Well, I've heard of people, when they become too big, or let's say like, somebody makes it big and now they're big movie stars, or now they're big musicians or artists or business people. They have a lot of people messaging them and like, hey, can I do this? What do you think about this? Hey, what's going on with this? People are wanting your attention, but you can't focus on everyone because it's not sustainable, right? Unless you build a
Yeah,
team that can
yeah,
focus on just answering messages. And so now that team becomes an extension of yourself, right? That can focus on just answering messages,
mm,
And so I think that attention is just the raw material of what we have, right? We can have attention on different things, but I think focus is actually like moving that attention to somewhere, right? So attention is the raw material, and focus is actually doing something with it.
yeah, 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 doing something. That sounds about right, yeah. They kinda work together. So what do you think?
Yeah.
What's your final advice for people, or final word?
I would say like, I just thought about this analogy, and this might be a good analogy to leave with. Think of attention as your car, right? You have a car, right? Focus is where you want to drive to, right? Where do you want to drive to? And so maybe that focus is to drive up north and go to the north, and maybe you you know uh, want to travel to Latin America, and stuff. So if you have your vehicle, how are you first treating your vehicle? Are you doing enough to take care of yourself? Um, are you making sure that the car is well maintained and stuff like that? That's the first thing. And then now that it's able to run and you understand how the car works, then where do you want to go? And I think that's kind of like the question that I want to leave people with. Like, where do you want to focus? What do you want to do? Um, Answer those big questions and have clarity in that. That'll help you understand what you need to do next. So just being self-aware about that, and then reducing it to the micro scale and seeing what you need to do every day to get to that goal. So yeah, I think that kind of summarizes what we've kind of shared in the podcast. Thank you guys for listening to the end of the podcast. We really appreciate your time, and we really hope that the time that you spent here today with us was very valuable. We really want to do our best to service you and make sure that we're bringing amazing content and providing you with the most helpful tips to help you with your life and to help you find truth in this world. And so we hope that you enjoyed it. If you did and you got something valuable out of it, please give it a like and thumbs up. Make sure also to subscribe to our channel, because our commitment to continue providing amazing content will continue. And so until next time, we will talk to you soon. Take care.